Welcome back to World Insight. Time for our second report, and here's a story that we've updated you a couple of times in the past weeks. Mightily armed but more than slightly baffled, 21st century civilization has no collective answer to piracy. The scourge was once thought banished into history, but recently an epidemic of attacks in the Gulf of Aden has grabbed the world's headlines. In the past couple of weeks, Somalia's increasingly brazen pirates have seized 8 vessels, including a huge Saudi supertanker. The world is now mulling tough measures, but it's not simply a matter of crushing the pirates.
These waters off Somalia are considered the most treacherous in the world. In August, 4 vessels were hijacked in 48 hours. In September, the Ukrainian ship Fina was hijacked with 33 tanks and weapons on board. In November, it was the Sirius Star, a Saudi supertanker carrying a $100 million cargo of oil. The Gulf of Aden is one of the most sensitive choke points in global commerce. The shipping lane links the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea via the Suez Canal. An array of valuable cargo shuttles between Europe and Asia through this passageway. In the Gulf of Aden, 20,000 vessels pass through annually. 4% of global oil supplies pass each day. And so far this year, there's been a total of 80 hijackings or attempts. The Saudi supertanker Sirius Star has the dubious record of being the biggest vessel ever hijacked by pirates.
I'm stunned by the range of it, less so than I am the size. These are pretty. They've proven to be pretty capable, can get on and off lots of vessels.
The supertanker has moved farther from its earlier location to the coastal town of Hadir, and the pirates have not yet set a ransom.
Piracy is against everybody. Like terrorism, it is a disease that has to be eradicated.
But some Somali fishermen have a very different point of view.
The Somali pirates have the right to become pirates because the world ships have stolen our property. They do not allow us to hunt our resources.
Somalia's untouched coastline is rich in fish. Local fishermen have been complaining for years that international fishing trawlers have been stealing their fish. Somalia's pirates are typically former fishermen who have turned to more lucrative work. They dress in military fatigues and travel in light speedboats deployed from a mothership far out at sea. The biggest lure is the vast ransoms being paid for captured ships.
We take ransom for these ships which we simply grab, and we do not harm anyone. We're not men belonging to a group. We are men who have an assignment for our own interests. Also, each one of us takes his share fairly.
El is in the semi-autonomous northern province of Puntland, whose main port is Bosasa. In El, where ships are held for ransom, a flourishing local industry has developed. This year, Somali officials say pirate profits are on track to reach a record $50 million, all of it tax-free. The pirates are rich and getting richer, with the latest high-tech gadgetry like handheld GPS units. All you need is 3 guys and a little boat, and the next day you're millionaires, says Abduli Amar Quaden, a former captain in Somalia's long-defunct navy. They strike with increasing impunity, grabbing everything from sailing yachts to oil tankers, and people usually pay, a response that officials say is fueling the problem. This year is one of the worst on record.
Piracy has flourished off Somalia thanks to chaos on shore. Somalia has been enmeshed in chaos for 17 years, since the central government collapsed and clan warlords carved the country into fiefs. The fighting, however, has intensified since December 2006. when Ethiopian troops invaded the country and overthrew a grassroots Islamist movement that controlled much of Somalia. The conflict and recent drought have pushed millions of Somalis to the brink of famine. But one particular line of work, piracy, seems to be benefiting quite openly from all the lawlessness and desperation.
Responding to the crisis, the UN Security Council has adopted several resolutions since June. Last week, it imposed new sanctions on pirates and arms smugglers in Somalia. Strategies include attacking the bandits on land, arming merchant vessels, and rerouting ships for a massive detour around southern Africa.
At IMO, we believe that we have to act, and act fast and with firm determination, to rid the world of this modern scourge.
As part of a worldwide effort, warships from the US, Russia, NATO, the EU, and India are steaming into Somalia's waters. Next month, the European Union takes over the NATO mission, sending 4 ships to replace the 4 currently patrolling under the NATO flag. But NATO says the power of foreign patrols are limited.
They can patrol, they can deter, they can even stop attacks that are happening, but what they do not do is then board a ship that has been hijacked elsewhere to try and free it.
Professor Zhang explains why the long-term solution will have to be a political one.
At present, the country is partly anarchic. Only removing the poverty and hunger onshore could eradicate crimes offshore. Somalia will need a government, a police force, and an army that can enforce law and order within the country. And until that happens, piracy is going to remain a problem.
And many of the pirates themselves agree.
We are pirates pushed by hunger and lack of government. And the solution is that the world should recognize Somalia and help put its government in place.
Off the coast of El, many pirates are still wreaking havoc among international shipping. And on the shore, the fishermen are still hoping for their own big catch.
Well, back in the studio, this much is clear. Somalia is in chaos. Countless children are starving and people are killing each other in the streets of the capital, Mogadishu, for just a handful of grain. The pirates are now scattered across thousands of square miles of water, all the way from the Gulf of Aden right through to the Indian Ocean. Some say that helping the Somali government re-establish control of security over lawless coastal regions is the only sure way of ending that threat. Up next, Chinese diplomacy in 30 years. We'll bring you that right after this.